Join us and discover beautiful beaches, rugged landscapes, pretty towns, desolate mountain ranges that sweep down to stunning lakes, unique architecture, history and folklore, no shamrocks, no shillelaghs, and definitely no shenanigans. Just make it Ireland. While you watch clips of triumphant goals by Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland football teams, let me tell you a bit about how these two teams came about. The Irish international soccer team played its first international fixture in 1882 and continued as a team representative of the whole island until long after partition in 1921. The Irish team was pretty terrible at first, an example being its battering 13-0 by England in its first international match, but over time it improved and its breakthrough came on beating Wales 4-1 in Belfast in 1887. One interesting fact is that while the early Irish team had pretty dismal results initially, it was pioneering in that it was the first team in the UK to appoint a manager 57 years prior to England or Scotland. Ireland had to wait until 1910 before winning the British Home Championships for the first time, beating England 3-0. After World War I, there were only 2 more seasons of football for this All-Ireland team before the politics of the time and Ireland's division in 1922 meant that 2 separate teams emerged, one on each side of the newly created border. Even after this point, it was still common for players to play on both teams. The Irish Football Federation in the south of Ireland especially continued to select players on an All-Ireland basis. The turning point didn't come until as late as 1946, when England found itself playing both the northern and southern teams in the same week, and 2 players featured in each fixture against the English. The fact that this player dual membership persisted so long was a reflection of how tolerant football was in the early days. But the scenario of the same players appearing in 2 separate Irish teams against England raised eyebrows for the first time.
Please take a moment to like the video if you're enjoying watching so far, and of course subscribe to the channel to make sure that these Naked Ireland videos don't bypass you in the future. The algorithm is a strange beast and it needs fed with things that you positively enjoy. It helps the channel out a lot too if you subscribe, so go on, push the big red button and hit the bell icon. I promise nothing bad will happen.
Both Irish sides sought to qualify for the World Cup in 1949-50. Neither qualified for the tournament in Brazil, but the idea that in theory they could and that some of the same players could end up in both teams brought matters to a head. This heralded in new rules by the Republic that banned players from playing in the northern side. Amazingly, both teams called themselves Ireland, and this proved a major problem for FIFA for obvious reasons. FIFA's answer was that neither team should call themselves Ireland. Both teams objected, but ironically it was the northern team that was strongest in its objections. Right up until the 1970s, the northern team continued to defy FIFA in insisting on the use of the name Ireland in programmes. Undoubtedly the Troubles, which began in 1969, played a part in polarising the teams further, reflecting what was happening elsewhere in the island, and so the concept of an All-Ireland team seemed to be dead and buried. And the northern team has since played under the name of Northern Ireland. However, it hasn't stopped some football fans wondering, given both teams' very mixed success over the years since, what could be achieved if the island once again pooled its considerable footballing resources. One needs only to look at the example of the Ireland Rugby team, which pools players from across the island and plays under the name Ireland, to see how positive such a move might be. Politics certainly poses the main hurdle to this end. Undoubtedly the majority of objections to the idea of a single national team comes from the fan base in Northern Ireland. Since the majority of these fans see themselves as British and citizens of the UK, they're reluctant to unite under the banner of Ireland, despite the fact that decades before they felt proud to do just that, but much water has flown under the bridge since then. But assuming accommodation could be found to the extent of getting a single team together, what are the problems to be solved from the fans' perspective? Obviously the issue is around the idea of identity. The anthem, for example, would need to be neutral, but that's easily done. The Irish rugby team uses Ireland's Call, which seems to be acceptable. In terms of the name, since Ireland was the original name, even for the northern team, perhaps it would make sense and not be an insult to northerners to revert to that. In terms of colours, emblems, there's not much difference. I guess the fact is that for the island to have a truly successful team internationally, it would obviously make sense to be able to draw from the largest pool of players possible. As the political atmosphere north and south of the border is less antagonistic now than it's been for years, perhaps it's time that it was reflected in soccer as in other sports. Who knows, perhaps we win the World Cup someday.
Please remember that you can now buy me a pint by way of a donation to the channel. It's easy, just follow the link in the second paragraph below the video and it'll take you straight to the donation page, and all donations are so vital to keep these videos coming.
Please like and subscribe if this has been interesting, and I'm sure some of you will have comments. Put them down below and I'll see you in the next video.